My name is Joyce, and with me here is my colleague,
Confidence.
Yes. And we are here to discuss the Sexual Harassment Bill that was recently passed by the House of Representatives. And we would majorly be looking at the offences and the penalties.
Yeah, so one of the reasons why I love the provisions of this bill is because when you look at what it provides as offences under the Sexual Harassment Bill, we're looking at quid pro quo, we're looking at hostile environment, you're looking at people who even procure others to make the environment hostile for students. Now, if you look at the bill, we can see aspects that speaks to an educator shall be, the first offense provides that an educator shall be guilty of committing an offense or a felony of sexual harassment if he or she engages in any form of unwelcome physical contact or verbal conduct of a sexual nature with a student or prospective students, or demand such conduct regardless of consent. That's a whole conversation on it, so let's not get into consent. But what this tells us is that whether the person is a student, whether the person is a prospective student, it's important to chew on the details of this bill, because as far as I know and as far as I've read, it kind of touches and covers a lot of lacuna when you look at it, because sometimes one could think, oh, after all, the person came to write post-UTM.
Yeah, the person is not in school, so it shouldn't cover up for her, but it literally says prospective student, which means that even if you're just coming to write your to take your exams in the school, as long as you step your foot inside the school as a prospective student, this bill actually covers for you.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
And then also, you were just talking about the fact that if you facilitate or you assist, it's quite funny because most of these lecturers don't come directly. They use most of these boys. They will say, these boys are the ones marking the scripts, or this, and these boys will be like, our, the educator or our lecturer wants to see you and stuff like that. So the fact that you are the one facilitating, encouraging, or even assisting, immediately you are aiding and abetting, and you will be sanctioned for it.
Of course, because it's to teach you to say no to your lecturers. Imagine that you're a course rep, for instance, and this happens more often than not.
Yes.
Where course reps are used to get female students to be at the beck and call of lecturers. And
so if you look at another funny thing, right, with this is that you get the same sanction as the person that committed the act.
And now, so you're not to say no.
Lecturer sends you there, you say no, because you're not getting less, right? You're getting the same. As we go through the penalties, you discover that you're getting the same 14 years as the educator who committed the act.
Quite interesting. Yeah. Because now the provision here says anyone who directs, facilitates, assists, or encourages another person to engage in any act of sexual harassment as defined under this bill. Encourages as per you feel like it's okay now, it's not this small job. You will be held liable as per the provisions of this bill. Yes. So there's also the interesting part of body shaming. I think it provides for it.
Yes, it does. It provides for body shaming.
And it's interesting because, it's easy for people to say random things and think it's okay to do that. And there's a huge problem with that because it kind of makes the environment hostile for that student, and then it makes the person quite uncomfortable. There's a way you will speak to someone's body and body shame them, and they will be uncomfortable with coming to lectures.
Yes.
It's the truth. So if you look at, I think that provision should be 5.
Yes. Yeah. And so one thing about body shaming too is because another thing is that it makes you accountable for everything that you say.
Yes.
Right? Because now you understand that there have to be boundaries and that you have to respect the learner. Right? You will not just go about and talk about their dress, their appearance, or try to make them feel less human. You respect them because they are here to learn, and because the act has provided for it, or the bill has provided for it, that's important to create safe spaces. And I like that it goes as low as to say, even when it comes to remarks, comments, anything that just goes to say that you're body shaming this person, they look too thin, they look too busty, anything whatsoever, immediately you'll be sanctioned for it.
It's funny because there's some lecturers that come to class and feel as if, okay, a lady is inappropriately dressed. The conversation of dressing is even an entire thing that I want us to go into. But you do know that some lecturers come to class and tell Boston ladies to jump. They will bring it to the front of the class. I say, come and jump, let me see something. Or bend down and pick up this thing. And it makes no sense because what point are you trying to make? You're already making the person uncomfortable.
And there's no way that student will listen to anything that you have to say. So you will definitely have that throughout the whole day, that will be on her mind because she's embarrassed.
Yes.
She's thinking about her body. In fact, she probably will stop attending your lectures and become unproductive.
Yes.
Right? And then there's also the part of stalking. So when, you are creating any form of unwanted attention that is directed at the person, like you were saying, for instance, some lecturers will come and they will be like, stand up. Anytime they come into the class, stand up. They just say some random things. You can tell that this person is stalking you. You can tell that anytime they come into the class, immediately they make you uncomfortable, or they're even winking at you. Things like that immediately. I like the fact that this act provides for details like that and says that you will be sanctioned as an educator when you do things like that.
Yes, it's quite interesting because as a lecturer and I'm in your class, why will you come inside your class and wink at me?
Exactly.
Why?
Well, exactly.
Because we're supposed to be here to learn from you. And bearing in mind that there's a power play, you're my lecturer and I'm your student. There's no reason why there should be some sort of unnecessary familiarity. When you're winking at me in class, it doesn't make any sense at all. And I like the fact that the bill has made adequate provisions for that. And there's an interesting part here where the bill says, consent shall not constitute a defense to any offense under this bill where a power imbalance exists between the educator and the students. This simply means that, we don't want to hear consent.
Yes.
It's not a defense of our business. No, not a defense.
No.
And then
you actually do have a fiducial relationship and trust you owe to that student.
Exactly.
So consent you can't say consent is a defense in this
at all.
And if you look at 4, you discover that the bill also provides for technology-facilitated gender-based violence.
Yes.
Right? Because when you start sending things, videos, images, whatever of a sexual nature to that student using any platform or medium, whether WhatsApp, whether Facebook, whatever, immediately you become sanctioned.
Whether Snapchat, because some of you would
people do that a lot.
Exactly. Let's be guided.
Whatever social medium you decide to use, you will be sanctioned for that. So I really like that this bill is holistic. Think about it. It covers body shaming, stalking. It covers physical, touch, verbal. It covers, using virtual, whatever you can think of.
Yes,
I feel like it provides for it, and then it states the penalties. Clearly states that when you do this, this is what it attracts. So it's a holistic bill, really. It is.
So on penalties, it's quite interesting, right, that for any conduct or any act of sexual harassment, the bill is saying it is 14 years and not less than 5 years without an option of fine, which is that you will get 14 years and the least you can get for imprisonment is actually 5 years, right? Nothing less than 5 years. And there is no option of fine, so you cannot even pay your way out of it, right? And instances of, for instance, quid pro quo, right? That is this for that, sexual request for marks or whatever, or maybe you say sextortion, that's also 14 years without the option of fine. And then if you, like we were saying, you aid or you abet in any way, you assist your lecturer, you say, let me just help so that he can give me an A, let me bring this babe for him. You would also be getting 14 years without an option of fine, right? Nothing less than 5 years. And most times they will give you 14 years, as it is stated in the bill, without an option of fine. And then also, of course, we have others that I would be handing over to Confidence to tell us what penalties are provided for.
Okay, so for penalties as well, we have where they say any person who commits any of the offences or acts specified in clause 3, 4, 5, and 6 of this bill is guilty of an offence and shall be liable on conviction to an imprisonment term of up to 5 years, but not less than 2 years, without an option of fine. So this simply means that if you display, send, or distribute any form of sexually explicit material through any means, if you do that, if you make verbal or non-verbal remarks, comments, or gestures of a sexual nature, if you're stalking, if you're body shaming, if you're persistently following, if you're making the environment hostile for them, through these other means here stipulated by the bill, you'll be guilty of an offense and you'll be liable to 5 years imprisonment or 2 years at the least without an option of fine.
Just as we have discussed, you can actually see that the anti-sexual harassment bill is a very interesting one. and that it covers every area, right? Even areas that we didn't think about, such as when you are just a prospective student and you're not, a student yet, you've not been given admission yet, it still covers for you. And so I think that really stood out for me, right? It's quite amazing. And also some things that we take for granted, such as body shaming. Now we can hold our lecturers, our educators, we can hold them to account when they say things like that. We can use this bill to actually say that, see what is provided for, sir, ma, this is something that you're not supposed to say to a student, right? Because when we begin to hold them accountable, we are creating safer spaces, not just for ourselves, or for everyone, even the management, the staff, every single person. Because it has to start from one person, and it's a link that it drives down, because once you start it, the next person picks it up from there, and then from there we create safer spaces. So, and then also it's the part of you being used by different educators, right? Now you know that you cannot aid and abet and go freely. When you aid, you abet, the law has stated clearly that you would be sanctioned, and not just sanctioned just like that, you'll be sanctioned as a perpetrator, because when you decide that you want to aid a perpetrator, the law takes you also as a perpetrator.
So yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, do not allow yourselves to be used as instruments to perpetrate sexual harassment within campus communities. So I would like to say thank you to the House of Representatives. They have made this very available for us as students and as communities in educational environments. And we do believe that at the House of the Senate that it will be passed as well, and that we look forward to getting the presidential assent of this bill, which will stand as a critical legislation to ensure the protection of students within campus communities.